So I made today's video to talk about the best financial strategies that you can deploy in order to achieve your financial goals and what some of those milestones that you can hit are along the way. And I'm going to break it down into 3 income buckets. We've got £30,000, £60,000 and £100,000 per year in income. Now I've progressively worked through all of these income levels over the past 7 years or so today I'm going to sprinkle in some of my own personal experience and my own personal financial strategies which have changed over time. And that's because the financial strategies that you use when you've got £30,000 in income are likely going to be different to the financial strategies you can deploy when you're earning £100,000 a year. So let's get into it, but first, a big thank you to today's video sponsor, which is HelloFresh, but more on them a little bit later on in the video. When I first graduated from university, I started a banking graduate scheme back in 2017 where I was earning a salary of £28,000. So part of that time, I went and moved to London and I lived in a house of multiple occupancy, paying £900 a month in rent. At this income level, I really did start to understand that every penny is really important, and perhaps even more so now with the current cost of living. I personally found it quite difficult to make life work financially at that point in time. Obviously, I didn't want to sacrifice life experiences, but I also was mindful that I needed to still make good financial decisions too. And a lot of people are currently facing similar challenges, because right now the average UK salary is £34,900 a year. So if you're in that income bracket, here are some financial strategies that you can deploy in order to ensure that you're financially secure. This is a concept that I learned about from Warren Buffett, who once said, "Do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving." This is as much a mentality thing as it is a personal finance thing, but it should be part of your monthly payday routine. When you get paid, before you do anything else, put 10% of your income into an easy access savings account. It's perhaps even more important now than it's been over the past 10 years to make sure you're saving a little bit of money, because interest rates right now will currently reward you from doing so. I currently use a Chase Easy Access savings account which gives me 4.1% in interest. So every £10,000 I have saved in that account, it equates to roughly about £410 a year in interest payments. Now the reason why I say you should aspire to save 10% of your income is because the average UK personal savings rate right now is around that 10% number. Now, of course, that number is slightly skewed because there will be some people that save absolutely bugger all month to month, whilst on the other hand, some people at their kind of peak earning potential in their career may be saving 20 or 30% or more each month. But nonetheless, it is in my opinion that 10% point is probably quite a healthy level to start with, because doing that will bring you materially closer to goal number 2. At 30k a year with the current cost of living crisis, and if you're currently single and you don't have that dual income life hack of having a partner, then you're probably feeling the pinch. When I lived in London on my own, I really struggled, and I had to be kind of super frugal and smart with my finances in order to make ends meet. I couldn't buy new clothes each week, I'd put bigger meals together and have the leftovers for lunch the following day. I couldn't go out for a coffee at 3 PM once you have that kind of afternoon slump in the office and need something to pick you up. I really had to keep all of my costs to a minimum. And that was to ensure that I could still save that 10% of my monthly income. But with that brought financial security, because I was able to build up an emergency fund. Now, an emergency fund means different things to different people, but to me, I would personally define it as having 6 months worth of your monthly outgoings saved in a savings account just in case you ever need it. This is the money in an account that's not for spending unless in an emergency. It just means that if you get any ad hoc expenses that life invariably throws at us, like the 4 new tyres which I had to purchase last week for the best part of 400 quid, it means I've got the money to be able to pay for them. And that's without going overdrawn or into any kind of debt. Which leads me nicely on to goal number 3. According to the Money Charity, as at 2023, the average credit card debt per adult was £1,248. And what I found kind of concerning is that in the age group of 18 to 24, almost 50% of those owned 3 or more credit cards, and more than half of them have missed payments in the last 2 years. That's a lot of people using a credit card for a credit facility to buy themselves out of a financially sticky situation, which ironically will only actually cost them more money in the future. And that's because of something called an APR, which stands for an annual percentage rate, which as at right now, Money Supermarket have said the average rate is about 18 to 19%. Now, if you had that average £1,248 on a credit card for a single year, you would actually end up repaying £1,373 if you actually ended up paying off the balance. However, this is where things really do start to spiral out of control, because debt interest compounds each month, meaning for every month that you have outstanding debt on a credit card which goes unpaid, and if you continue to add to that debt, essentially you start paying interest upon interest, which is why unpaid credit card debt is a real financial killer, especially amongst young people. So do all that you can to avoid it completely, and don't use credit cards for the purpose of credit. I love using my British Airways Amex because I get rewards and Avios points, which then help me pay for flights and hotels when I'm looking to go on holiday. But I make sure that I pay the thing off every single month without fail. So by all means, get yourself a credit card, but get one that benefits you and not hinders you. But before we dive into the £60,000 income bucket, let me introduce you guys to today's video sponsor, which is HelloFresh. Now, if you're anything like me and have a super hectic life and work schedule, HelloFresh is a super convenient way to get your meals delivered to your door every single week. With over 100 different recipes to choose from, you'll spend less time thinking about what dinners you want to eat each week and carving out time that you don't have to go and do the food shop. Because as you guys all know, time is money. I whipped up this rump steak and dauphinoise in a red wine sauce and garlic broccoli the other day, and it was bloody delicious. You get all the ingredients and the full list of instructions to follow, so you can't exactly go wrong. Especially if you're like me and you've got your missus helping you out. Plus, whilst we're on the topic of kind of better managing our finances, you can get these recipes on HelloFresh for as little as £3.15 per serving, which isn't too bad at all. But what's even better is HelloFresh have actually given me a sign-up bonus for all of my subscribers, whereby either if you click on this QR code here, or if you go on the website, which I'll leave a link to down in the description below, and if you enter the promo code Mitch60, you'll get 60% off your first order, along with free desserts for life too. So be sure to click on that link for your next order of HelloFresh, and thank you to HelloFresh for sponsoring this segment of the video. Roll on a couple of years and a couple of promotions later, and my salary quickly accelerated from 30k to just over 60k. Now at this income point, you're going to start to face into slightly different challenges. The continued cost of home ownership or renting, bills, and just the general cost of living, but also something called lifestyle inflation too. Now, lifestyle inflation is where you proportionately increase your expenses in line with your income, meaning you can be earning £60,000 a year, but you could equally be spending £60,000 a year, resulting in you being no better off than the person earning 30k a year that spends all of that £30,000 too. But if you can resist that temptation, once you kind of hit that £60,000 a year income point, especially if you've got a partner adding to the pot too, then you can certainly transition away from that feeling of just financial security into a place of financial comfort with the following financial strategies. If I were going to put like financial strategies in any kind of order, first it would be to start saving and build yourself an emergency fund, and then investing would come shortly thereafter. And just like with saving, I think investing 10% of your income every single month should certainly be a minimum threshold goal for everybody, especially those that are within this income level. I've literally built up a portfolio of £60,000 since 2017, since I began working, and that excludes my pension. I was investing in this account when I was earning £30,000 a year and started with just 400 quid. So I know it's certainly achievable for all of you guys who are earning £60,000 a year or more. And to be honest, this is the income level where you're going to want to start to think a little bit more progressively, let's say, about your finances in order to secure your financial future. Like, just for some context, right now I'm sat on unrealized profits across two of my investment portfolios of about £20,000. That's an extra 20k on top of my net worth from literally just making one single investment a month. And even if I were to never invest another penny and I were to wait until I was 60 years old when I wanted to retire, then assuming average market returns of about 7% per year, I'd be sat on a portfolio size of £560,000, which, using the rule of 4%, I could actually withdraw a salary of £22,400 from the portfolio without it actually declining in value. So do yourself a favour and start investing each month, but if you're not exactly sure where to start, well, be sure to subscribe to the channel because I upload investing content every single week. According to the Office of National Statistics, the average UK pension pot is valued at £32,700. That's an amount nowhere near high enough in order to be able to sustain you financially without having to rely on a state pension. So it's super important to make the most of your workplace pension because employers are usually incentivized those pension schemes as part of your overall package. Like where I work, the higher amount I contribute towards my pension, the higher amount my company will match it. So for example, if I put in 3%, they would contribute 9%, but if I contribute 6% or more, they would pay in 15%. Now, there are a couple of big benefits to a workplace pension scheme. Number one is it's like free money. Your employer is literally contributing money to your retirement without you having to do anything for it. And secondly, it's tax efficient. Pension contributions are actually taken pre-tax. And if you're earning over £50,270 per year, you're paying 40% income tax on any earnings above that figure, which is quite the tax burden. So increasing your pension contributions will effectively mean you pay less tax to HMRC. It may mean less money in your pocket today in your bank account, but it will mean that you benefit more over the long run. So it's a bit of short-term pain, but for long-term gain. As you move through the income brackets, as we've said, it's easy to succumb to lifestyle inflation. Every time you get a pay rise, you get more and more disposable income on your hands. And I'm all for having more life experiences and doing good stuff with your money, but not just buying shit for the sake of it that you don't need. And one of the biggest financial killers that people succumb to at this kind of income bracket is buying a brand new car. Now, whilst you might look smart driving it, it's a dumb financial decision to make, and even dumber if you've taken a loan out with the current rates of interest. I went on Car Finance 24/7 to find out how much a car loan would be, and it appears that interest rates start from 9.9% up to 19.9%. So let's assume you've got a super good credit score and you've got a 10% interest rate on your loan. On a £50,000 BMW over a 4-year loan duration, you will lose about £25,000 in depreciation over the first 3 to 4 years of the car's life, and you will have paid an additional £10,269 in interest on your repayments too. So at best, that £50,000 brand new BMW, which might look fantastic out of the showroom, has actually cost you the best part of £85,000 in real terms, and that's if it hasn't depreciated even more than what I've just suggested. So buy your cars in cash to avoid paying high interest rates, and also look for that sweet spot of buying a used car that's 2 to 4 years old and let somebody else pay the depreciation for you. I've always kind of done side hustles since I was a teenager, but actually when I started YouTube back in 2020, that's when the kind of side hustle kind of quickly became a proper business, and my income accelerated to well over £100,000 a year. I started with a terrible setup, had no idea what I was doing, and probably took me 2 years or so to make a half-decent video. I guess the moral of the story behind earning £100,000 a year in my case is take a chance on yourself and don't look for perfection at the beginning. Just find something that you enjoy and do that thing, and then figure out how to monetize it later on down the line. So with that said, you're probably not going to be surprised at where we're going to start off with a financial strategy for people within this income category. Now, there is a possibility if you're earning over £100,000 a year, you may already have a business, but if you don't, this section is for you. If you're earning over £100,000 a year in any capacity, the chances are you've probably developed some kind of high income skills along the way, and those high income skills can be monetized even if you don't realize it. I see it time and time again where people have transferred their skills in kind of a corporate setting into some kind of entrepreneurship type journey and been able to monetize it and build their own business, especially in the social media space. A fantastic example of this is Ali Abdaal. He's an ex-doctor turned YouTuber, now author, making multiple 7 figures a year. And look, where you start might not be where you end up. Ali has transitioned his content and his messaging over many years as he's grown as an individual and a business person. The key thing here is that you just need to start somewhere. There are many different business models that you can adopt, but social media, or at least using social media as part of your business's marketing strategy to sell your high income skills to procure customers, is a really fantastic way to do so. One of the first things that I did start doing as I hit that kind of 6-figure threshold was to invest it. I decided to set up a new limited company with the sole purpose to buy investment properties within it, which was funded by my YouTube business. I bought my first flat back in July 2023 for £112,000, and I put down a 25% deposit. I gave the flat a lick of paint and tidied it up a little bit and got it rented out for £825 per month. I've owned the flat for just under a year now, and based on the current Zoopla valuation, I've worked out my kind of unrealized capital gains and profit from the rental income to be in the realms of about £10,000. So just imagine having 2, 3, 4 or 5 or more of those doing the work for you and appreciating in value every single year. Whilst the bulk of the money obviously isn't in liquid cash form, which admittedly is a little bit of a downside, over 5 to 10 years from now, it will massively have accelerated your overall net worth. Analysis from Halifax has shown that the UK average house price has a compounded annual growth rate of 5.8% over the last 20 years. So it's not the best investment strategy by any stretch, but it is a good way for me to shift money out of one business which would have just been unused into another business that can actually buy assets that increase in value. I'm also planning on buying another one later on this year in order to continue growing the portfolio. Earning all of this extra money and being diligent with your finances must have kind of an overarching outcome or end goal to achieve, and that end goal for so many people is something called financial independence. By definition, it's a self-sufficient financial position that means you no longer need to work a job to meet your financial obligations, or perhaps formerly known as retirement. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I certainly don't want to be working until I'm 68 years of age, and instead I'll certainly be striving towards some kind of early retirement. Not so that I can just put my feet up and do nothing, but continue to work on the things that I enjoy doing. Now, you can kind of work out where you stand on this equation by going onto a website called networthify.com. For the purpose of example, let's say you've got an investment portfolio value of 250k growing at 8%, and you earn over 100k a year and save 20% a year, you'll be able to retire 19.5 years from now. If you can push those savings rates up to 30%, then you can retire in 15.9 years. But I'll let you guys play with the variables in order to see how far you guys are away from retirement. Of course, all of this is financial challenges that we all face, but the key thing here is all of this is certainly within your control in order to deploy the right financial strategies to reach your financial goals that you have. Now, one of the biggest financial strategies for me personally is making sure that I'm investing my money in the right way. But I get so many people asking me where exactly should I start, so I kind of addressed it in this video here. So be sure to click on that video next, subscribe to the channel on your way out. With that being said, I'll see you over in the next one.